Hello, and welcome to Business with Smith Co. Hello, and welcome back to Smith Co. Business with Smith Co. Yeah, sorry, I should get the title right, but anyway, today we'll be talking once again about basically the stakeholders in business. So in the last part, we wanted to do all the stakeholders, but it was getting a bit late. So today we're going to be talking about the last stakeholders, which is the producers, the suppliers, the service providers, the consumer, the government, and interest groups. Sorry if the whole two-part thing annoyed you. Anyway, so let's dive into it. So a producer. And what exactly is a producer? So a producer is the person who they manufacture products to sell materials. They use raw materials bought from suppliers to create finished products for sale. So they're the people who, a lot of the time, some producers are actually technically suppliers themselves, because what they do is they provide a product, a base product, for another company, but what they use are raw materials which they're into a product. Now sometimes they're also suppliers because that product is then used to create another product. So for example, you'll see that in electronic chips. Basically a company that makes electronic goods may not actually make their own electronic chips. They buy their electronic chips from another company. Obviously that company doesn't find electronic chips in the ground. They have to make those electronic chips themselves. So that's how it works sometimes. And that's when you get into suppliers. So suppliers are people who sell finished goods or partially finished goods to a business, which will then sell them, themselves. Now, they may be supplying raw materials or partially finished goods to a business that business may use to create products, or else just sell that thing themselves. Now, obviously, sometimes this just means that, as I said, the producer is just the producer and the supplier cannot. Some companies do the same thing, which they produce a good and they also, sell it on to a business. They sell it themselves, and that is what you have in some cases. So basically, you'll see these businesses that crop up around the world. Their purpose is not to create products. Their purpose is to sell products. So they'll have no actual products they create. Obviously this YouTube channel is not one of them. We obviously produce the YouTube videos, and then they are then published, and hopefully you listen/view them. That's the sort of situation you have. So it's that some businesses are that, but there's something against that. Some people do say that causes a bit of a problem, because then consumers have a problem, which is that, obviously if you're selling a good which your entire purpose is just to sell it, then you will obviously have to make a living out of that and have to pay lighting and heating and all that sort of stuff to get that to consumers. So sometimes that causes problems, because that means the consumer is suddenly paying a higher fee for the good than they would have if they just bought it off the producer, if the producer is actually finished with the product. Of course, sometimes, as I say, suppliers do finish the good off. Next, of course, we have service providers. Now, service providers are very, very important, because a business will need them to run their operations. Most businesses need services such as electricity, broadband, light, heat. This is the kind of first area you've got in service providers, which is the basic sort of human needs. Obviously, electricity we need to produce these videos, and broadband to share them. Light, and heat. You don't want to freeze, but sometimes heat you have to compromise, and you will find that in some cases when business is failing, sometimes you have ways. If what I'm saying is, if a business isn't actually inviting a customer into their own area, which we don't do, and a lot of businesses tend to do that. A lot of businesses either have online stores or just don't necessarily have their customers in the same areas they produce goods. So that means that, you do tend to cut out, if you can, that means you can cut down on costs by cutting heat. However, service providers also include professional services, such as accountants and solicitors. So that is also good. They also may want like a chip and pin terminal or an e-commerce platform for payments, and a payment accepting area. If they want to do more than just accept like credit cards, debit cards, that type of thing, then they might want to do something like Stripe, so that they can accept that sort of thing. So that because sometimes that sort of thing is what you want. And obviously these services are necessary for business to keep payments safe. As I said, like Stripe, there are not only alternative to banks, but they also keep your money safe. Next, of course, on the line is the supposedly most important person, the consumer. Or if you're watching this video, technically you. Well, no, actually, no. No, because this is a tangent. I'm just saying technically that this video is not necessarily audio. Sorry, this audio is not necessarily you're not necessarily the consumer. You're the advertiser, is the consumer, and you're the good. Technically, on a monetary scale, which is of course what I meant for this, because the consumer is the person who buys the goods and services sold by the business for their own personal use. Obviously, technically, an advertiser is actually just, what I'm saying is that they're paying money to you for your videos so that they can show their adverts on your video, and then the consumer, that then makes them the consumer, and the person watching it is using that advert, and they're technically the thing that it's kind of complicated. It's actually relatively complicated. Basically, consumers, they can help entrepreneurs by taking part in market research and giving them information on what they want for the product, which I guess is what advertisers do. Although sometimes you do find very weird adverts. Obviously, there aren't any adverts in this video, so you won't find any adverts in this weird adverts in this video. Hopefully not. Anyway, if you do, please, do say so to message us, because sometimes you do find very weird adverts, and that's very weird. Anyway, next you have the government. Now, the government sets laws and rules for business that they can operate in the country and that they can pay tax. It also offers support. Not all countries do this, but some countries offer support to businesses through state agencies, and this helps develop businesses in the country, because obviously, sometimes, especially monetarily, you can have trouble succeeding in business if you don't have that kind of a boost to get you to that level, because it obviously isn't that fair if you've got an idea that works. And especially if it's like a thing that'll help people, like if you invent a new type of washing machine, and that helps people dry their clothes, wash their clothes. And if you invent it so that it's more that they don't have to use as much water, it's more effective, leaves less electricity, and boom, 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 and will cut their costs down by like 90%, then that's great. That's a great idea. But what happens if you can't get that? You can't get your business off the ground. You've tried, but you can't. You got the prototype. It works, but you're not able to fully produce it because you can't get the factory or you can't get any of these things because you don't have the money. That is a problem, and that's where governments can help. Obviously, then comes interest groups. Interest groups represent groups of people who have a common objective and viewpoint. They lobby decision makers, and lobbying is a deliberate effort by interest groups to influence the decision process. For example, governments or members of the European Parliament. They use this to promote the interests of the members. Other methods they use is negotiation, running information campaigns, arranging public protests, boycotting certain products, and taking legal action. Now, business owners may be part of an interest group as well. They may be part of an interest group so that the interest group will represent them. An interest group does not always have to represent employees or employers. Sometimes it's just been promoting a certain viewpoint or whatever the case may be. And obviously, that is the end of the area, realistically. So next time we'll be talking about cooperative relationships and possibly competitive relationships. Anyway, hopefully you'll join us then, because that will be helpful. Anyway, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, or you can view other videos. Sorry, audio. Anyway, see you next time. Hopefully. Please do tune in then. It helps. Viewership does help. And so does subscribing. Thank you. And bye. I don't know why I keep repeating myself.